Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Last Minute Live. If you could just let me know if you can see, you can hear, everything looks okay, sounds okay, that would be much appreciated. And then we'll go through and I'll get Imran on, we'll have a little chat, we'll talk about a few bits and pieces, and we'll take your questions and comments and feedback, all the usual things. So if you could let me know if everything sounds okay, looks okay, then I'll do a couple of welcomes and then we'll kind of move on from there. So let me know in the chat section. And as always, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day, evening, whatever time it is with you. Excellent. Thank you very much, Michael, for letting me know. So everything is looking and sounding okay. So like I say, thank you very much for taking the time out for joining me tonight. And thank you again for Imran to take the time out of his evening at the last minute and jump onto a live stream with me, because it's always a lot of fun when we get a chance to have a little bit of a chat. So I'm going to just say a couple of welcomes, then I'm going to get Imran in, and then we'll just start talking stuff. WordPressy type stuff. So who do we have in tonight? Michael Wright, thank you very much for joining us last minute. It's a pleasure to have you here. Sebi Webb, good to see you. Martin, we've got Purple Style, Dosates, No Reaction, Shahid. Chris, good to see you in. Tease, now I hope I said that right. If I didn't, please do let me know, but I'm pretty sure you told me phonetically that's the way you should say it. So if I've said it right, let me know. If I've said it wrong, I do apologize, and I will take it all back right now. As always, if you've got any questions at all tonight, if you can just do hashtag Q, just so it's easy for me to find those, just hashtag Q. And as always, if you are new to the live stream, you can do hashtag new, and I'll give you a little special welcome as we kind of go through. So who else do we have? CZ, I hope I said that right. We've got Year of the Dreamer. That's a cracking name. Mark Harris, good to see you in. Thanks for jumping on board. Eddie Werder, good to see you. Thomas, Carapos, always a pleasure. Dig Dug, which just reminds me of 80s computer games. So I do apologise, but Dig Dug is definitely one from my my youth, if I can remember that far back. Video Boy, good to see you in as well. And thank you very much for joining us. So I've got Imran in again tonight, so thank you very much. I just caught you out there, didn't I? You were just typing, you were just replying to messages. I can tell you've even got a pencil, like he's making notes and redesigning his room while we talk. So, Imran, if anybody in the chat doesn't know you, or anybody watching the live stream or watching the catch-up on the live stream, would you like to say who you are, what you do, and how people can find out a little bit more about you? Over to you.
Yes, well, I'm Imran Sadiq, Web Squadron. If you want to find me, go to fbi.com, top 10 most wanted list. Look, just search for Web Squadron on YouTube. You'll find our videos where we do as much as we can to help the community with WordPress, businesses and marketing, Elementor, and a bit of bricks now as well. You'll find our details for our Facebook group, our email address on our website. But yeah, as Paul was saying, I was actually midway into starting to dismantle my room, which I've now put off just to do this live chat with him. But yes, this pencil is because I'm still drawing out, as we're talking, scribbling them out, room designs. But web design agency, been working on websites for just over 17 years now. I'm very passionate about it, especially helping people out. And it's always wonderful to be on these live chats with all of you.
It's always a pleasure having you here. Now back to designing your room.
Yeah.
So basically, what I want to talk about tonight is, or what I want to kind of open the floor up to everybody tonight is, there's never really been a better time, I don't think, to get stuck into building websites, designing, even if you have absolutely zero budget. There are so many amazing tools, and I think the fact that Imran and myself actually released a video today on the same free plugin, and both had the same kind of opinion about it, that it is incredibly powerful, and the fact that it's totally free is a bit of a mind blower, just kind of got me thinking that there's so many amazing tools out there that you can use for zero cost, that there's nothing stopping you starting a side hustle, starting a business, being a freelancer. Heck, you can even start an agency without having to spend a single penny, and then start to make some good money. And I think this is kind of exciting. So there's two kind of things I want to do tonight. I want to sort of have a chat between sort of myself and Imran and kind of talk about some of these different tools that we like, things that we think you may know about, you may not know about. But also I would like you to put in the chat any of the tools that you think are worth checking out. And then if we haven't seen them, we can take a look at what they are, and we can go back and have a look, and we could all benefit from potentially some more amazing tools. So other than what we talked about today, is there one free tool that has kind of blown you away or just made your life as a designer, as a business owner, easier, what would you say it is?
Canva. And the reason I say Canva is because I was a big Photoshop user. I used to do a lot of digital art, images and illustrations, and book covers as well. So from about 2005, 2006 until about 2019, I had Photoshop's Creative Studios suite, whatever, before it moved to Adobe Cloud. And that's quite expensive, but it was a great tool. And I heard about Canva about 5 years ago, looked at it, yeah, okay. And then I went back to it about 3 years ago, and I started to respect it a hell of a lot. And if you're into social media posts or creating banners or profile pictures or avatars or whatever, even web design, if you want to take an image and create like an image mask or something, just doing things, merging things, layouts, GIFs, all of that, Canva is amazing. Now, I do have Canva Pro, obviously because I want to have more features and stuff. But that being said, the amount of things you can do with Canva is, in my opinion, pretty mind-blowing. And I think that if anyone out there wasn't even doing web design, but they were starting off to be like a social media marketer, an Instagram post, or even YouTube shorts, all of that stuff, the amount of things you can do here is brilliant. And there is one thing you can do, which I don't do yet. You can, I edit my videos using iMovie. So I'm deviating now because iMovie is free as well. But if you weren't using iMovie, you could take like a recorded video, stick it into Canva, split the scenes, and you could literally have words and images and things overlaying. And it is so simple and easy at doing stuff. It is a little bit crazy what you get out of here for free. And only recently they introduced what was known as a freehand tool. So you could now, if you've got a tablet or even if you're very good with your mouse, start to use your hand and draw images as well. And it's just, please let us know in the comments if you don't like Canva. I totally respect that. Or do you actually use it? But I think as a free tool, of all the plugins, of all the things I could have picked, that is my go-to tool. Because I think there isn't a day that goes by in my life for the last 3 years that I am not using Canvas for something. And that is not a lie. There isn't a day. Even when I'm really ill, I still go on and use it.
The funny thing is, I was a bit snobby about Canva and these kinds of tools because much the same as you, I came from the sort of Photoshop background, and you kind of feel like if I'm not doing it myself, then I'm cheating and I'm a bit of a hack and I'm not doing the right thing. But Canva and a lot of other tools in the same kind of vein have come so far over the last 2 to 3 years that, like you say, you do social media, well, you don't have to come up with those designs if you're having someone paying for that sort of managing their social media. All you want is a very quick and easy process of they send you the basic text that they want or the information, maybe a couple of images. You make them look interesting. You maybe create some video shorts, some basic sort of graphic things, some animated graphic things. Well, a tool like Canva, even the free plan, like you say, which has an abundance of options, can kind of get you through an awful lot. And again, it's one of those things that you potentially can make good money out of using a tool like this. And I think that's where the strength of this comes in. Originality is great, but originality takes time. Originality takes effort. And most people that are willing to pay you for social media, whatever it is, advertising, ad campaigns and so on, they don't necessarily have that massive budget of millions of pounds, millions of dollars to be able to invest over a couple of years. They have a couple of £100 and they want results. This gets them potential for results and also improves your turnaround time, I think. There's a different tool, I can't think what the name of it is, and I bought a lifetime deal on, and it's very similar to this kind of concept. But what you can do is you upload your assets, and once you've uploaded your assets and your colors and your logos and bits and pieces, you can create a design. For example, you did a sort of like a header for YouTube. And then you want to have, sort of your header for Facebook. You want to have your Twitter header. You want to have some advertising campaign, those kinds of things. You could literally just click that design and the software would then convert it to all those different sizes.
Okay.
Automatically for you, retaining the various different elements of your original design. That was pretty cool. I didn't really use it because I just didn't get on with it. Because again, it's one of those things that I think when you come from something like Photoshop, these do feel limited in what you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
There are definitely some limitations. Like you won't be creating digital art with it at all. But it is something that sometimes I have some clients who they're not going to take a care package with us, so we'll build a website and they'll be on their way. But they want to delve into social media marketing. So it's one of the easiest tools to teach them to get on with and go, look, you're going to do your social media posts. Use this to create your posts and, just get them out the door. Because, there's nothing worse than when someone just takes a photograph and puts it in Word or Paintbrush and puts text on, and it just looks really god-awful. But it is... someone's just mentioned Photopea. Photopea is great. I mean, Photopea is like a free version of Photoshop. But again, if you want to get some really quick and dirty posts out there, by the way, if anyone has ever seen my social media where I'm putting out quite a lot of posts sometimes, half of them I'm just taking off Canva, the images and stuff. So I don't have to think too much about it. I just find a decent image, go, yeah, that suits the topic, add a word or so, and out it goes. But yeah, Photopea is good. I mean, I am a massive Photoshop fan, but even if you forget Canva and all of these other ones, there are so many tools out there. It is... It's almost like take your pick. Go and do a Google search for free graphical tools. GIMP, has been around so long. Always makes me laugh whenever I hear the name of that. But, you can't help but laugh. But it's like you just Google search for stuff and you will find something that works for you. There's never been a better time to get into graphic design, logo design, social media marketing, all of that. And I think that's probably the reason why we see so many people advertising that as a service, because they don't actually, if you think about it, someone could be like us, sat in their home, working from home, freelancing or a business, and they are doing social media marketing or posts. They don't have to actually pay for anything except their own electricity in a way. So it's relatively easy to set up.
It is, and I think with tools like Canva and other tools that it takes away your need to be a designer as well. You can just flick through, find something, relay that. That was it, Andrew. Spot on. You can kind of just pull up a design, and various different kinds of tools like Canva will have a design set, which means that you can then just simply go ahead and say, well, I like that. That's kind of in keeping with the brand. And need to change the colors and the logo, but that's kind of in keeping with what this particular brand you're working with, the kind of portrayal that they put out there. Then you can create a range of different things, all using that same aesthetic. And then you've got everything you need for potentially, a couple of months worth of content. And you were saying that you were putting out a lot more social media content. I've absolutely seen it. I mean, if you go on to Instagram, there's a ton of content you put on Instagram. You're putting posts up on Facebook, more sort of about your web design business, I think, and the kind of ethos behind, your website, having a website, those kinds of things. And I think tools like this are making that process so much easier for you, because have something like that and a tool that allows you to schedule, and you can literally sit there. You even go as far as creating a spreadsheet that has the actual content that you want, upload that to a tool like, one of the schedule kind of tools. And you're done. Publer's the one you use. Okay, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's the insane thing about it, is that you can just do all of that, and you could do that for clients, and you could charge good money, and you don't need to be a designer. You can use these tools to actually do the hard work and the heavy lifting for you, and you just become let's put all the pieces together, job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, for anyone, I mean, I don't know what you use, but I use Canva for my cover arts for the YouTube videos. So I have a template with my layout, and all I do is change the background color, change the title, change which image of me, and I've got about 50 images of me doing different poses and crazy stuff. And then another image. And the cover arts they don't take that long, because you just got a set template, but it just makes things easier, and it's less stressful. And if any of you are relying on third parties to do your cover arts for you, or you're waiting on people to do things, it just puts the control back into your hands. And if you are serious about setting up a YouTube channel, your Facebook group, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, all of this stuff, you got to make sure you got to create different sizes for your banners. You can't just stick the same banner on. You got to modify them a bit. And it's anything that is easy to use. I mean, even my son, I mean, he doesn't do it that much now, but sometimes on his computer, he loads up Canva and he sits there and he types in moon and drags a picture of a moon onto a mountain with a dragon. And it's, so it's easy for kids as well. You know, anyone can do it.
I think that's the beauty of it is it takes away that barrier to entry. And I think that is something that is positive. I mean, to go back to relay that, I mean, I have not looked at this for ages, so don't pay too much attention to this. But to give you an example, I mean, I've literally created one design, and all these other variants, all these other sizes are based on that one design. And you kind of got my kind of color schemes for the various different things, that the images you've uploaded and so on. And then these will automatically be used inside these designs, and you can just kind of flow those out to whatever you want. So you open this up, and you can see you've got all the different options for your design. So very similar to what you can do in Canva. But I think the beauty of this is the fact that this will just spit out a ton of designs based upon the aesthetic that you create. And I like that idea. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's probably an even quicker way of doing it, to be honest. If it just generates the designs for you. But yeah, and I think someone said on AppSumo there's a deal going for that at the moment. I think it's like £20,000 for one license or something. But yeah,
if it is 15 grand, you can have it.
yeah. In fact, you can buy mine.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, I mean, I did buy this through AppSumo a couple of years ago, and it was one of those things that I think I paid something like about $60 for it. And it's kind of, I've got a lot of things that I would consider to be shelfware or put in your back pocket. The, you know, they may come to something, they may not. I may like them, I may not. But for the price you pay, you know, even if you use them for 6 months and they speed up your work process, then they were worth it for that alone. You know, I think that's the beauty of this, is that you do kind of have those options. And one of the other sort of tools that was sort of pulled up was definitely Figma. And I'm a big Figma fan. I mean, do you use Figma?
No, I mean, I've used it. But I've often found that because I have a different flow in the way of how I like to go from like specification, design, and then building the website, which is basically scribbling on paper. I haven't found myself going in towards Figma too deep or using it very much. So I've used it, but I found that it didn't fit with the way I like to do things. But most of the people I know love using Figma. I know you use it.
I think I was probably in the same mindset as you, which was I don't see the reason behind it. I don't see the point, because I could jump into Elementor and I could create the design and you can kind of get stuck in that way. And I always thought, actually, that's quicker. But once you start to test out what you can do with Figma, you realize that if you thought you were fast in a tool like Elementor, you'll be faster in a tool like this. Maybe only 10, 15%. But just the fact that, for example, like you want to test a design, let's just open up one of my my sample files that I've got that I was using in tutorials before. I mean, the nice thing with this is, which you obviously can't do in something like Elementor, is I can literally just go, I'm going to grab that, I'm going to duplicate it, all my spacing and everything comes up. I can just come in, I can make changes to whatever I want. So I can quickly and easily duplicate things, edit things. I can try out different color combinations. You can create all those things. Your color palettes are already automatically kind of created for you. The whole design process is so quick and easy. There's a desktop app. There's a sort of like a tablet app if you want to use it. I just like what you can do with it. So I'm in the process of playing around with some different designs, for example, with the WPTuts homepage and everything. Whether it'll even go this way is debatable. But it just allows me to very quickly test out different layout ideas, different color schemes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I can kind of go, does this work for me? Does it not work for me? And kind of go through the whole design kind of process, pulling in various other assets and things so I can test that. And that's one of the nice things, is there's so many amazing assets out there for Figma, totally free assets, you know, from something as simple as icons to full, complete designs that you can then use, like these hero sections that I've got here. I'm kind of like playing around with those. They're templates that I can just dissect, I can do what I want with, I can change any aspect, I can pull the bits that I like in, I can just really use these as a kind of scrapbook of ideas and just chuck things around. And like I say, once you get used to it, it really is incredibly fast to work with. So I would really, really recommend, even if you only spend an hour or two with it, just try it, because I think you'll find that once you get past all of these tools have a learning curve. But I think I tried out a couple of these before, like Adobe XD, didn't like it at all. I tried this a couple of times, couldn't really see the benefit in it, but I kind of set my mind to try something, and I just kind of got sidetracked and drawn into doing some things for like the UI and UX design videos that I wanted to do. And I found this just an easier way of being able to have all these different kind of layouts in front of me that I can tweak and adjust, and I can go, right, that works, that'll be good. I can combine those together now to show as part of the tutorial. And within the space of probably 2 to 3 hours of part learning what you can do with it, but mostly just letting my ideas come out onto the virtual page, and I was hooked, because just the layout, you can all the layout positioning and everything, all the interactive guides like we saw in today's plugin that we kind of covered. There's so many of those things in there that when you have them and you use them and you realize how nice they are to have, you look at using your page builder of choice that you've probably been designing in prior to this as kind of clunky, because it gives you so many nice to have things. And I only use the free plan on this, and it is good. Honestly, spend a little time and I think you'll be sold on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a really good point to make, that you can get it for free. So don't dismiss it. But yeah, I think I'll probably give it another look. Yeah.
I honestly would. I think you will be pleasantly surprised at how it'll improve your speed.
Well, to be honest, I'm just waiting for you to release your Figma course, isn't it? And then I can learn from the master on it.
I wouldn't go as far as master, but to be honest, I'm working on the Elementor module at the moment, and my God, it makes you realize how clunky some parts of Elementor are, and how just something as simple. And I'm not going to go into the bashing thing, but once you've you've already found out by using like bricks, for example, and where you dabbled a little with Breakdance, when you look at global classes, how good they are. Just something as simple as that. And then when you kind of go back to your global styles that you have in Elementor, how limiting that is. That it's like, you want 2 or 3 different button styles, you've got one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Little things that, again, just speed up your development, your design process, all those kinds of things. So try it. I think as much as you love Canva, I think you'll probably use this in a different way, but I think your designs will speed up for you tenfold by using it. Now, before we go any further and we take a look at some of the comments and questions, if you're getting value from what we're talking about tonight, or you just enjoy being part of the conversation, hit that thumbs up button. It makes sense. It helps us out. It helps YouTube know that you like what we're doing, and it costs you absolutely nothing other than the ability to just click that little button. So thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you don't, hit the thumbs down button twice, because we know that works really well too. Okay, so let's have a little look at what these lovely folks are saying, the different things. So we've got Martin. So he's saying 100% agreed on Figma. I hope I said that name right. If I didn't, I do apologize. So Figma, you need to check it out. But to go back to my course a second, not to sort of punt anything to do with that. It's been enjoyable, and like I think I set you the challenge a couple of weeks back on a live stream to take a design, whether you design it yourself or something you see, whatever, and build it with bricks, build it with Elementor, with a container. That's what I've done. As I thought, well, there's no point in me doing it with the other inner sections and so on. And do it with something like, Generate Press or Quickly or whatever you kind of want to work with, Generate Blocks and that. Because it gives you such a different perspective on how you use those tools and how you plan your designs. And it opens up, you very quickly see the shortcomings, not just of Elementor, but in various different things where you go, there would be such an easier way of doing that, because you're kind of repeating the process back to back to back. And it just gives you a real eye-opener into limitations, into better ways of working, into processes you can put together to just make your life considerably easier. So you do still have that challenge on the table.
I do, Paul. It's just I've right now I've got a backlog of videos I still need to record. That's right there. That orange are the ones I've done. So yeah, I've got a backlog. But yeah.
Well, come on. What's stopping you? You could literally be recording them while we're doing this. Surely.
No.
Okay, so we've talked about Figma. We've talked about Canva. Let's go back to WordPress. Is there one tool, other than obviously like Elementor Free, is there one tool that you kind of think, I couldn't live without this, but it has to be free? It has to be a free version. Even if there's a pro or premium version, but the free version is more than enough to do what you need it to do.
I think I'm probably going to have to say, well, it's a bit of a difficult one, this, because I could start reading off loads. There's optimization tools, there's loads of things, but the one that really always jumps out at me is Rank Math. From an SEO point of view, when it came on the scene, and I was a bit like, you know, what's this? Yoast was so well known, and there were other ones as well. And then it came out, and when I tried it, I was like, wow. And yes, I know you get the pro version, which gives you a few more stuff, and you get the content AI and all of that. However, having tried out Rank Math Pro and Rank Math Free, I think a majority of people will find that Rank Math Free will do everything they need to do. And I think from a point of view of improving the SEO for your products, your posts, your pages, other aspects, it is, for me, a pretty amazing tool. And I'm so excited for when they eventually do their integration with Bricks, because Bricks Builder already has some SEO. I've tried it out. I don't know how good it is because I haven't used it on a live site yet, but it has got the feature built in. But once it's got Rank Math in, because what it has done for so many of my clients' websites and ourselves as well, when you go through the motions, and the fact it's free, you can't deny the fact that if you don't need content AI to help you with your keywords and stuff like that, if you know what you're doing, it is... There are a lot of settings. I can't deny that, okay? There are a lot of settings. But once you've done them, and you can usually kill off about half an hour of your time to go through them all, but once they're done, being able to just like open up a page, or even when you're working on a product, and then just look at the sidebar, you know, it doesn't matter if you hit 75%, 85, 95, just make sure you're hitting what you need to hit and you're getting your things in. It can make a big difference when your website is put through Google Search Console and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some of the comments on here, like things like WordFence as well, the post SMTP plugin, duplicate page. There's loads of plugins I think that are really, really good. However, the one that I feel like can make a big difference for you and your client is Rank Math, because you can do all these fancy stuff to your website. You can do loads of fancy stuff. You could even say WooCommerce. It's free technically, but the one that could help your client's business continue, get found, be successful, hopefully they're still running in a year or two's time, so they come back to you for repeat business, or they let other people know. And also, dare I say it, I don't want to say it is an easy moneymaker, because it is not an easy moneymaker, because things are based on results. But you can build a website for a client and then go, right, okay, you want the SEO, right, we're going to have to do Rank Math, we're going to have to do X, Y, Z. And there's an add-on cost for you to set the Rank Math up for them. And it's not that difficult, but because it helps you through the process, your hand is held a little bit through it. So, if I think back to, what was life like? I mean, come on, if you go back 10 years ago now, and you start to think about what it was like trying to do keywords and sort things out on WordPress websites back then, just how much hard work went into it. And I know there's Yoast and there's All-in SEO and all of these things, but Rank Math has been pleasurable. And I've got to do a shout out to their main guy, Boona Abdullah. He is a very down-to-earth person, and they have a great support team. And I am not affiliated to them, but yeah, one of my favorite tools.
See, I'm more in the SEO press camp.
Okay, yep.
I got nothing against rank math at all. I think rank math is an incredibly powerful tool. But I just kind of, I think sometimes you just gel with a particular tool and it just kind of, that feels more comfortable and natural over another one. So I don't think either of them are bad. And I think when it comes to SEO, I think we have kind of bought into this mindset that there's so many options that are in these kinds of tools, even the free versions. And let's be brutally honest about it, most of us haven't got a bloody clue what we're doing with it. And I do think that providing you have good content, you optimize your titles, your meta description, your keyword, those kinds of basic things, they will stand you in good stead. As long as your website isn't doing something, say like, no follow for every page or something. There's going to be, it still comes down to content. No matter how much these SEO tools are touted, if your content is crap, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? So it's like content is king, and that will fundamentally always be the case. So I think that's the thing to consider. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a couple of different tools that I've never actually heard of. Clint, I'm sorry, but I am going to have to mention this one, even though you are scared that you're going to lose access to the free tier. But it's Docspo. Now, from what Clint is saying, this is incredibly useful for creating great-looking proposals. Now, if you do digital proposals, which is something that I've done many times in the past, and they are an absolute bloody nightmare to do, then I think anything that can ease that burden is going to be worthwhile taking a look at. And from what he's saying is the free version is probably more than enough for a lot of use cases. So what do we have? 2 documents per month. Again, it's one of those things, single user and 2 documents. Okay, you might think, well, 2 documents, that's a bit crap. But for most freelancers, I don't imagine you're going to put much more than 2 proposals out in any given month. If you are, you're probably very, very busy, and your projects may tend to be smaller, quicker turnaround projects. So at which point, but then again, you're thinking, well, $15 per month. If you put out 5 proposals and winning 3 of them, $15 should be nothing. Better proposals are the one that I jumped on a good few years ago, which was, again, another one of those AppSumo deals that when I first bought it, I was using BidSketch, which was okay, but I tend to find that there was a lot of things missing in that. And Better Proposals kind of came out, didn't have anywhere near as many features, but it was on a lifetime deal. I think it gives me something like 50 proposals a month, and you can use all the templating features and all those kinds of things, and embed videos and all that kind of good stuff. You can track what's been opened, how long they spent on any section. All the tracking options are there for you. But I think regardless of what you use, whether you use something like this, whether you're using Docspo or any tool that allows you to kind of create proposals, if you are doing this for a living, any kind of proposal software is better than using something like Word or Google Docs or something where...
Yeah, agreed.
They just take you so much more time. I mean, what are you using for your proposal management and tracking and things like that? Do you use anything in particular?
Yeah, so we were... Oh, God, I can't remember what it's called now. I can't remember what it's called. We were using something about 2 years ago, and we actually switched back to Word just because there's actually 2 of us in the business. So I do more of the creative side, and then I got someone else who kind of handles more of the marketing side of things. So we just switched back to Word, and then we have our own way of managing we don't actually use any third-party software. So we went back to just simplistic ways of doing things, and we are probably, when I say very close, I think we definitely will. We're going to switch to using Atareem.
Okay.
Because you can use Atareem for free. If you're not a big team and there's only like 1 or 2 of you, mainly doing the chug of the work, you could use Atareem for free, and it's going to be our solution for kind of managing our workloads, our tasks to be done and things like that. But that's what we'll be doing. But in terms of web proposals, we just do them on Word now. We are lazy, very lazy.
And tight by the sounds of it.
Yes, yeah. No, I think it was a bit a case of, I can't remember what we were using. The name just forgets me, but it was a similar thing to what you've said, where they're really flash, they're really great. And then there was something about it where like it was fiddly and we felt like we're spending more time now, or it's almost like you do it and then you're having to like do something else outside of it because it was missing a certain feature or something, and it kind of, it gets on your nerves a little bit. You know, it's like having a car and you can drive it, but it hasn't got a boot. So you can't put anything in the boot. You go, well, what do you do? Put it on the back seat, put it on the top. So that's why we kind of moved back to just using Word.
Oh, fair enough. I just found that when I was kind of using that method, because you were repeatedly including the same content, there was a lot of copying and pasting back and forth, whereas with a tool like Better Proposals or Bid Sketch or Docs Pro, something like that, because you can kind of save those out and you can use placeholders. So, you know, once you put the client's details in, those placeholders are pre-filled out with the client's name and address and those kinds of things. It just made the whole process so much quicker to work with than a sort of more long-winded approach of creating something more manually. But like I say, you've got to keep your business partner busy. If he's not creative, you know, pass it on to him and let him do it.
And I haven't got around to doing it. So before I left the NHS, I used to do a lot of SQL programming and algorithms. And I do want to try and create something whereby we'll have like a database where you just pop in some details and it pumps it out for you into a document with, like you said, you know, it'll have certain things which are always going to be in your document. I've just got to find the time to do it. And now I've got this challenge I've got to do with building a website. It's probably going to take longer.
Well, you know, there's nighttime. You don't have to sleep.
Oh my God, nighttime. I don't sleep. I sit in bed. Like I'm going to tell you guys something. You probably you're going to be surprised that sometimes my wife sleeps in a different room because she gets so annoyed by me late at night with my phone on, like until like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm researching websites and CSS code, and boy does it pee her off.
Sounds like a match made in heaven.
Not yet, it's not, but no.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think when you're a content creator, you know, you don't switch off, and I think that's kind of something that maybe people don't kind of realize is that sadly you do tend to sort of fall asleep at night thinking about the next video you're going to create or how you're going to deal with something, and then you wake up in the morning and it's like switch it back on again. It's like all the time.
Or we had no intention of recording a video, and then someone went and posted about Depictor, and then both of us were like, oh wow, what's this?
Welcome to most days of my life. Yeah. So anyway, let's get back on track. So we've got a couple more different sort of things, different kind of tools and services. I mean, Zoom comes up with a good one, and while this isn't free, I do think this is definitely worth sort of bringing up. Do you use any of the Affinity tools? Because they were great during COVID, where they basically run, I think maybe twice, even 3 times, 50% discount, and they extended their trial from 30 days to 90 days. So anybody that couldn't afford it during, you know, when COVID first hit, they basically just give you 3 months worth of access to it. So if you were a professional or you were looking to get into kind of using those tools, sideline, you know, whatever it is, and they run 50% sales. And the other one, Pixelmator, I kind of picked that up probably about 3 months ago, and I absolutely love it. It's an amazing piece of software for stupidly cheap. I mean, do you use any of those? Are they sort of on your machines?
No. Pixelmator has been on the back of my mind for a while. With Affinity, though, I tried out Affinity when it first came out, and I didn't like it that much. I have to be honest, though, that I was using... So this is at a time when I had the iPad Pro with the pencil, and I was trying out Affinity, and I found I didn't really like it that much. And I think it was because my mindset was still... My heart was still with Photoshop and all of that. And when you go to Affinity, it felt a bit like, I'm having to relearn stuff. So I never went for any of the Affinity deals, but Pixelmator has been at the back of my mind for a while. I think one of my problems is that I have to find a problem with the current... So let's say I'm using Canva a lot and stuff like that. I've got to find a problem or something that stops me getting a job done or getting over the finishing line. And then I go, right, no, I'm going to go to something else. So my intention is there, but it's like at the moment, I haven't had anything that's made me go, oh, Canva's not going to do it for me. So Yeah, that's the reason I haven't done it. And I think that can probably be said for nearly every other plugin I use. Like, you could even argue, why do we still use WooCommerce? Not just because it's the only one out there, but because it does the job. There's like the new plugins Shortcut. Will I ever use Shortcut? Well, maybe, but then again, I'm a bit like, well, I know what works, for instance. So it's so there's always going to be solutions out there. But if you know what you're using works, do you want to risk having to learn a new one? Unless the feature is amazing and you feel like you got to get on board with it because it just, I don't know, makes your website production more efficient or more productive.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. I mean, the reason that I jumped on Pixelmator Pro was more to do with the fact that because I've moved everything now over to Apple, the phone, tablet, computers and everything, because it integrates directly into your Photos app, then you could. It's nice that you kind of have that integration. So I've got the app on my phone, so if I want to use it, I got
exactly.
I've got the app on there, but that syncs up, so I can make changes on the phone using the same settings. It'll sync it then with my Photos app with all the settings I've applied on my phone. I can open it up then on my Mac, and all those settings are still in there, and I can open the same file up and I can carry on editing. And just little things like that, they make life so much easier. But I get where you're coming from. It's like, if you don't have a reason to learn it and to use it, why spend the time and waste the time? But on the flip side, you could also be missing out on things that open up more opportunities to you to offer more services to clients, or to be more productive yourself, or to just open up other avenues that you may not have explored because you haven't had that reason. And again, I'll go back to Figma because I think that's a good example of you've not had the reason to use it. But I think if you did spend the time to learn even the basics, you'd start to see how that would speed up and streamline your work process over what you do now should be more productive.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I will say, and I'm sure this might affect you and others as well sometimes, and not using this as an excuse, is that I love creating videos and content. I love doing all that, putting things out on YouTube. And often what happens is, like, I'm sure you have this as well, but your day starts and, like, we've got web design work as well. Then we're creating videos, editing, uploading, managing groups. Then you get all your social media notifications and messages. And sometimes I literally start a day and I go, oh, you know what? I'm going to look at this plugin now, or I'm going to look at this solution. And you get towards the end of the day and you kind of go, oh, sod it. I just can't be bothered now. And it's like, some of the people on the chat will know is I sometimes say, I really wish I had a clear day of nothing. A clear day of nothing, so that you could just sit there and really study something. And I think we've made a rod for our own back because we do videos and stuff like that. And I don't know about you, but if like I had like 2 or 3 days where I didn't do a video, I would start to panic a little bit, like, oh my God, I don't want to get into that habit. So one of the things that I learned 12 years ago when I used to do a lot of creative writing was always write every day. Even if it's just a one word, write every day. Don't get out of the habit. And unfortunately, with video creation and investigating solutions and just messing around on websites, I have this bug where I don't want to get into a habit where I go, oh, I won't do a video today. Oh, I won't do it tomorrow. And before you know it, 2 months go by and you kind of go, oh, you know what? Forget it. I don't want to do it anymore. So I get worried.
I think, unfortunately, that's the YouTube addiction. The algorithm has kind of made you feel that if you don't create content, that all the effort you put in so far is going to come to naught and it's going to be a waste of your time. And sadly, I think anyone that creates content on YouTube is very easy to fall into that trap. And I do agree. You sometimes you get up and I sort of wake up and I go, right, I go to sleep at night. It's like, right, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, this is what I'm going to get done. I'm going to get all these things done. And then I wake up, I check my emails, check a few bits and pieces, you answer some questions, you answer some comments, and then you're suddenly drawn into something else. And before you know it, it's lunchtime, and you're thinking, crap, I need to get a video recorded, edited, and out by 3 o'clock, because that's my optimal time between 3 and 5. It's like, Jesus, how am I going to get it all done? And then by the time you've done all that, you get to the end thinking, I can't be asked to do the other things I said I was going to do now. And then you find rinse, repeat the next day and the next day and the next day, and it's like this is hard going, and you do feel like a bit of in a hamster wheel, going round and round and round, doing the same thing, just trying to catch your own tail, just to keep up with what you feel you should be doing, and not always getting to what you should really be doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is a tough one. It is a tough one for sure. Right, let's have a little look at what comments we have coming in. I see we've got a few more peeps popping their sort of faces in. So as always, like I said earlier on, if you're getting value from this, thumbs up, you know it makes sense. Thumbs down twice if you're not getting value for it, at which point, well, you know, it doesn't really matter either way, does it? But just bear in mind that every thumbs up buys Imran a can of Pepsi Max, and every thumbs down buys him a 2.5 litre bottle of Coca-Cola.
Oh dear, I don't mind as long as oh no
Full
now
fat.
you've done it. No,
Full fat cherry vanilla cola. Oh, what a disgusting concept.
Yeah. Oh yes, no.
I just don't understand it. Who in their right mind thought, I know, let's take cherries or let's take vanilla and let's put them together with Coke?
Oh yeah, I did drink it once and it was just I felt sick afterwards. I had to go and get myself a steak and kidney pie just to feel better.
Steak and kidney pie. Ooh.
Yeah, I was talking about it today on our live chat, pucker pie. Boy, do I love a pucker pie.
Oh, really? You're a pucker pie man, are you? Go on,
I am, yeah.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
It could all end in tears. Cheddar cheese Doritos. Oh, man, really? Now, as long as cheddar cheese Doritos... Sure, but as long as you've got diced, we're doing one of your bloody live streams now. As long as you've got diced chorizo and you put strong cheese on it and then you toast that in the oven for about 5-10 minutes, I'll go with that all day long. That's amazing. And then have something like a 4 cheese dip, just so you can, really harden your arteries. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Assume type 2 diabetes. Or you could go for cherry Coke and melt your own teeth.
Yeah. Oh no, not cherry. No, cherry Coke's the worst. That's. I just don't get it why they even sell that stuff. Like, I'd use that to clean my pavement. That's what I'd use cherry Coke for. But nothing else.
So you think I got to clean my patio as well? So I'm thinking maybe I'll go and get some cheap Coke. That should help. Anyway,
do you know what? It doesn't. It doesn't work. By the way, I can tell you now, it doesn't work. Okay, we have tested it. It doesn't work. And it wasn't even on our drive, it was on someone else's, but it doesn't work. It just left a stain.
A big cherry stain. Yeah,
it did for ages.
Vanilla cherry Coke is a garbage drink. Any kind of Coke is a garbage drink, if you ask me. WPTuts cooking stream soon then. Hell yeah, let's do a cooking stream. Burgers a go-go, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That, I'm up for that. Yeah, we'll do that.
Because let's be honest about it, if it's vegetarian, it's probably not going to work too well from my side of things because...
No.
Works good for a rust remover. Anyway, let's get back on track, some kind of track. Cashew Fenny is the best. Man, since I can't add any GIF here, head explosion, some burger photos or pizza. I can do the burger photos if you want to, but we'll come back onto that when Imran's talking and I'll go search my photos. Okay. So let's just get back to some kind of semblance of what we're meant to be talking about, although food does sound good. Okay, so we've got some other things on here. I mean, have you ever heard of Render Forest?
I have, actually. I have, but I can be honest right now, I've never Googled it. Because I may be wrong here, but isn't it stock images? Is it stock images?
No,
or am I
it's
completely wrong?
No, it does sound like it might have started as stock images, being sort of, render forest. You kind of think 3D images, rendered images, those kinds of things.
And also one of the other reasons why I've been put off by ever going to it is because it just reminds me of Theme Forest. And I have bad memories of that from like 10 years ago when the amount of money I must have paid on Theme Forest every month or so buying themes and stuff. I just have this like, is it just a branch of that? And I think it's...
No,
yes, it's pretty well. Yeah, no, it's but it looks to me like from what I can tell that it doesn't look that dissimilar from almost in a way Canva, but it looks a bit more polished. But I don't tend to use the Canva templates that much. I just use it to help create and get my things together with stock images and wording and all of that. So I tend to find that when you have something that's pre-built, it looks really good, but then when you add in your client's images, it doesn't look so good. And this is something I will say about all templates out there. Whenever you see a template or a theme, they're always been like a purple theme. The images will fit that scheme and branding, and they look wicked. The minute you add your clients in of them sat on a beach in their underpants, it don't look so good. So don't be fooled by the images and the way it looks. Look at the features and what it actually gives you.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest, what would you say? It's like a wonder bra when it comes to web design. It's like once you realize what's behind it, it's not as impressive as it might have first looked.
Yes.
I think that's very much what you get with, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were always exceptions to the rule. I mean, some of the sort of themes on ThemeForest, they were actually some really good themes on there. What was the one I used to use? I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but there were some good themes on there. But the problem, like you say, used to be with those is they try to cater for everything. So they'd have like 300 different design templates that are starter templates. And like you say, once you kind of installed it and none of those features or none of those images and text were there and you end up with a blank page, you look at it and go, this looks like arse. You know, it doesn't look good.
And they were the worst. I mean, I remember buying themes and like, if you excuse the fact the images weren't there, you're kind of like, okay, the buttons weren't even there. And I remember buying a PowerPoint presentation. This is yonks ago, and it was an amazing PowerPoint. I got it, and it had nothing. All it had was the colors, which were orange, white, and grey, and there was nothing. None of the images, none of the charts, nothing. And I was like, I've just paid for this. What was point of it? And I don't mind being inspired, and that's what I say to a lot of people. Don't assume you're going to find exactly what you want. Be inspired and then create it from scratch, because you will learn so much and you will find your voice, your way of doing it. Because I don't know about you, but I have a certain way of how I do my buttons and my text and all of that. And 9 times out of 10, the clients will go with the way I build them and whatever, unless they're very particular. But find your way, your style, because that's it becomes your stamp almost, you know. So and people tend to notice that when they see your example websites as well. So be inspired.
Yeah, I think the thing that changed my perception was, I mean, I used to use ThemeForest a lot. You know, you'd have a project. You'd find out what the project was about. You'd sort of go through the sort of the finding out what the client wanted, the kind of things they liked and didn't like, and so on. And then you would go to ThemeForest and you'd look through to find some inspiration. Then you buy a theme that matched it, and then you realize they didn't do what you wanted to do, and it took a bit of hacking around and all those kinds of things. But once you kind of realized, I mean, this is going before we had like Elementor, and it was Visual Composer, pretty much everything was included. So that's kind of like that was kind of like your first exposure to page builders, which when you kind of think going from something like, you know, just the classic editor or the WordPress editor as it was at the time, there was like, my God, you could make things look visual. And you didn't need to actually code anything or use this really bad WordPress way of working. But once you went through that, I think that was like puberty, web design puberty, we'll call that, you know, where you had to go through those growing pains before you could come out the other side and realize there were themes. I mean, for me, the biggest eye-opener was moving over to Ocean WP. You know, I tried out like Generic Press and Astra, but Ocean WP was the one that kind of clicked with me at the time, you know, going back like 6-7 years now, maybe longer.
Yeah.
But when you kind of started working with that, you ended up with a starting blank canvas. And that was less intimidating than starting off with a fully featured ton of designs that when you loaded it in, you had nothing. So there was there wasn't a billion different options. There were a couple of hundred options for every part of the theme. And you could, you know, use hooks and things like that to hook in headers and footers and other parts. And that kind of made you more creative because you're less reliant upon those. And you looked at, okay, I've got the tools. Now I just need to get the inspiration for the design. And once you kind of got past that initial learning curve of understanding how to take your design idea and then build it in a tool like that using something like Visual Composer or Divi, if you were a Divi user at the time, it was kind of like liberating, because you felt less kind of stuck in what they were giving you and more, look, there's a basic tool here that gives you the basic starting points. Now you can let your creativity flow, and this just opens the doors up. And I think that was one of the things that kind of made you go away from that. And from what you were saying, you kind of had a similar kind of journey where you'd have a project, you'd have a client, you'd go and look for a website that matched the kind of aesthetic that they wanted, and then you'd build it around that and all the kind of junk that kind of went with it.
Yeah, and that is in a way why, you know, you could say the last 5 or 6 years with page builders and the ability to now kind of build from scratch, or even have the components there. So even if you were a bit unsure of yourself, to be able to just like drag and drop and kind of build things out, you know. And even though I'm not a big fan of Wix and all of that, I still have to say that, you know, 12 years ago when I first tried Wix, again, it was still like, finally, I don't have to now get a theme for WordPress. I can just go into Wix and I can build what I want. Of course, 2 months later, I ran away from Wix. But even then, to be able to like, it was almost like, it's like Lego, isn't it? Which fits with bricks. But it's like with Lego, really. You're able to, you can start to visualize it and you build it and whatever. And having that freedom and flexibility to do it, it's great. It's great. And it makes you a better designer and developer, because if you're always buying themes, as a lot of us were 10 years ago or whatever, all we're doing is like adapting what's already out there. So we've got a box. We can't really change the box. All we can do is like color it. But sometimes you couldn't even color it. Sometimes the best you could do was like color one wall and the other 3 walls were pink, and you were stuck with it. And you contact the developer and they're like, oh, I'm too busy or whatever, and, you know, or you never heard from them. So the evolution of page builders has helped us to be a lot more unique. And now page builders are getting better. We've got so many new ones coming through where they're now going to get us to think deeper and harder, you know, about classes and CSS and stuff like that. So I think it's been a good evolution for lots of people who haven't had that background in HTML or CSS, and they've relied on page builders. And I think now you're able to kind of, advanced custom fields, dynamic stuff, all of that. It makes you think a little bit out the box a bit more.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that hasn't been mentioned about Theme Forest and the entire Envato kind of marketplace, how many times did you buy a theme and you went back 2 or 3 months later because you needed to update something, there's a problem, like it was incompatible with the latest version of a plugin or something, and the developer had removed it and they'd left and you didn't have that theme anymore?
Lots.
My God.
Loads.
That was one of those things that when you kind of went in, there's a problem with the client's website and you found that it was gone, it was like, really? So you had two choices. Go on.
Yeah, it was even worse though when like the developer was still there, and then they said we don't support it, and you were like, yeah, but you're here. Can you just like fix this or advise me? No, we don't support it. It's not part of our roadmap or whatever. And you just felt cheated a little bit, because it was like you've paid for it, and unless that business had gone like liquidated, it just felt like and it was they were bad times. I can tell you now, they were bad times, because the amount of money, you're just throwing away on themes. And they weren't cheap either. No. A lot of the themes back then were like $49, kind of thing, $39, $49. They weren't the cheapest thing around.
No, they weren't, and they aren't now. I mean, one of the annoying things was the fact that you only ever got 6 months of support, and you guarantee that when something went wrong, it was 6 months and a day. And it's like, there's another 30 quid on the support for the next 6 months, and you'd use it that one time. And you wouldn't get that money back from the client, because it's like, you chose those tools. This thing is I can't help that. It's like, you got to get on with it and deal with it yourself, kind of thing. It's like,
yeah.
So I mean, I will say, I think the best thing that's come out of the Envato marketplace is Envato Elements. I still pay. I've been paying for that for years, and I still carry on paying, even though I don't use it as much as I did. But I've never used it for a theme or a plugin for WordPress. I use it for the other assets, like the video, for the different templates and stuff like that, but nothing to do with WordPress.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think some of the free assets or stuff you can get from them, or even some of like the videos you said and stuff, is quite inventive. And you can tell that they're not just like the people that designed them and the designers that supply their stuff. They're really good at what they do, and also they're great for inspiration as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely upped their game.
They did, yeah. Like I say, I think there's some really good assets on there, and it's just like a nice one stop. You can kind of just jump on there and you're sorted. You were laughing at the Visual Composer things, aren't you?
I am actually, and Pigstar does make a good point, and I don't like to hate on Visual Composer, but I've got to be honest, every time I see an update online or social media about, hey, we're doing this and we're doing that, I just stare at the social media post and go, who cares? But I don't mean to be bad, because the developers that do a lot of work, but I sort of look at them and go, surely no one buys this now. Like, really? Does anyone buy Visual Composer?
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I kind of feel a little bit bad for them, because
I do as well, a little bit.
I think the problem came about we know where the problem came about. It was the fact that the name change caused confusion from WP Bakery to Visual Composer and all the kind of stuff that went with that. But I mean, I still have a license for Visual Composer, and every now and again I go and install it just to have a little look at it. And I've got to say, one of the biggest things for me, I don't have it on you at the moment, but one of the biggest things for me is how bloody disjointed it looks. It's like on the left-hand side, we've got all the different features, like your headings and stuff. They've all got completely different bloody graphics on there, and it's like, why do you think that's a good thing? And the other thing that makes me a little sad is they release a video about a new feature, and it's like, it's been there for 3 days and there's 7 views on it, and you're thinking, that's got to be soul destroying.
I just there's part of me that always feels like so I did have a one-to-one chat with their developer, and he was talking about a feature, and anyway, but what I couldn't understand was, could they not put all of their time that they currently invest into Visual Composer and just say, look, why don't we create a killer plugin? Why don't we create a killer feature that integrates into WordPress? So without deviating, Depictor, right, that we both did videos on, is a slider plugin. It is a really good plugin, everyone, right? And regardless of whether you use Gutenberg, Bricks, Breakdance, Elementor, whatever, you can use it to build your slider and then dump in the shortcode. I mean, it comes with an integrated widget for Elementor and Gutenberg anyway, but you can just dump them in. Why don't they go away and create something amazing? So whoever is behind Depictor, they're onto something. I don't know how long they've been around. I'm pretty sure there'll be a premium version. They must do. They can't be free forever. There's got to be a premium version soon with even more killer features, dynamic stuff, I bet. But why don't the Visual Composer people go away and create that killer product, because at the moment, Visual Composer is Visual Composer. If you're using Elementor, you're not going to use Visual Composer, right? And if you've got a client that uses Visual Composer, you will try and get them off Visual Composer onto something else. That's what I do whenever I've worked with anyone on it. So I think they should go away and try and create that amazing plugin, something which says, hey, don't care what you're using, but with this, I mean, I'm pretty sure they've got the talent behind the scenes, because the fact that they're able to create Visual Composer, right? Whatever we think of it, the fact that they're able to create something that obviously does stuff, not sure about what it does, but it does stuff, means they are talented people. They are developers. They can create things. They got magic in their fingertips. So go and create something magical for us, and don't call it Visual Composer. Just call it, I don't know, Just give it a name that's nothing to do with composing. Orchestra. Call it orchestra.
Yeah. Visual orchestra.
Yeah.
You think it's a MIDI pack or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is. It's kind of sad, like I say, to see that they were massive at one point when you kind of think.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of that is because they were bundled with pretty much everything on Theme Forest. Any theme that was on there was Visual Composer and Slider Revolution were bundled with it. That was kind of like the standard thing. So it's like you can kind of understand why it had those multi-million users, because it wasn't necessarily people paying for it, but they were paying by extension, as it were.
Yeah.
I think they just kind of lost their way, and I would wonder, they've got to be doing something. They've got to be making money somehow to carry on doing what they're doing. You do kind of have to wonder, financially, what's keeping them afloat?
Do you know what they remind me of? They remind me of how, so there are some shops near me where I never ever see anyone go into the shop. Never ever. And the shop looks run down, and I sort of go, why is that person still running it? And I sort of go, well, maybe they own the building. It's rent-free, maybe. They don't have any overheads anymore or something like that. And until it dies a death, they just like to keep it going because they just don't want to let go. They just don't want to let go. And I think what Visual Composer did is they got to a point, they were doing really well, and then other page builders came on the scene and did something different, and they were a bit set in their ways. So I work in the NHS. For anyone that works in the NHS, the biggest problem in the NHS is that too many people from different generations are set in their ways. Every new generation wants to do something different, but you're never going to change the world until you change the mindset of everyone. And I think Visual Composer was set in their way and they weren't going to change. Then you had other page builders come, and you could almost argue with Elementor. They've got their way, they're set in their way. Then you got Bricks, you got Breakdance, you got other things coming up. And unless people sort of reevaluate what they're doing and rethink their methodology or their approach, they just continue on that path. And either you continue to accelerate or you just start to hit a brick wall. And unfortunately with Visual Composer, they've just stayed stagnant, and I do feel sorry for them. I don't like to see anyone fail. No matter how much we bash or criticize, and we're not doing it in a bad way. I don't like to see anyone fail because you know what? They're a business. They'll have families. They'll have people. They'll have people they employ as well. I don't like it if people fail, but I just sort of look at them and think, I bet you've got enough people there where you could probably now say, call it a day. I don't think there'll be that many people upset. I would be surprised if there was uproar. What we have with Oxygen and Breakdance, where everyone's like, whoa, what's going on here? I don't think Visual Composer, if they were to say, you know what, in 6 months' time, we're winding down, I think they'll get a lot of likes. In fact, and retweets, right? And stuff like that. They won't get many dislikes. But if they then said, because we're working on something else, fine, go away. Disappear for 6 months and then come back with something that makes all of us go, wow. Whoa, you just brought out Breakdance 2. I don't know, whatever, you do what you want, do something.
Breakdance 2, the ballroom sequel.
Yeah.
It's slower, but it's much more methodical. It would be nice to sort of see. Every now and again, I kind of get this urge to go back and take a look at these different things. But the mad thing is, one of my top videos with nearly 400,000 views on my channel is the introduction to using Visual Composer, formerly WP Bakery. And it's like, it still gets views, still gets comments and questions on now, which is just kind of, it's just crazy.
But is that the developers just using VPN to hit it many times?
Yeah, they're just literally refresh.
When did you do that video? Do you know how long ago you did it?
Oh, about 4 years ago. I think it's about...
and you're still getting hits. Wow.
Yeah.
But then again, I have to say though, I'm pretty sure that someone who's just typed in the word visual because they've got an eye problem, or someone who's just looking for music and they've typed in composer, they sit and go, "Oh wow, this is a music app," and they click it.
They could do. They
do you know what the average view? Do you know what the average views are? It's like 10 seconds, and they go on and they run away. But but then again, look, if they are getting views. And we could be talking rubbish, right? For all we know, there may be people. It's a bit like, wasn't it like the country of Georgia where Norman Wisdom, they loved Norman Wisdom and they had like a statue to him, the comedian, wonderful comedian. There may be a place in the world somewhere where Visual Composer is like mandated by the government. I don't know, Easter Island. Island right now, it is mandated for you to use Visual Composer. Who knows?
Yeah, you have to use it. You have no choice in the matter. But as you can see, nearly 350,000 views and
wow,
a few hundred comments. But like I say, it still gets views most days. I'm using Safari for this, but otherwise I'd normally have the information about the number of views per day.
I'm sorry, Paul, but you've got no choice now. You've got to do a video where you talk about the statistics of that video in terms of views and like what is the gender, the geographical location in the last 6 months. Where are they all coming from? You're gonna have to do a review of it now. You can't get away from this.
There'll be one IP address. It'll be in Germany.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I reckon it is literally just someone who's like, I don't know, I reckon like someone has collapsed on top of his keyboard and their nose is currently on top of F5 and it just keeps F5ing all the 24/7 and no one's discovered them yet.
That's perfectly fine as long as they keep doing it and the views keep going up. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, well, it's 9:10 now and I say we're going to have another 5 minutes and then we'll kind of call it a day. But yeah, I think it's been interesting tonight to sort of see not only the sort of the tools that you use and you kind of rely on, and lots of which have free versions which are very, very well featured, but also it's interesting to see what other people are using, the different recommendations we've kind of had from there. So it's always one that wants to do the statistics in there. Michael, it would have to be you. Only 1 in 100 likes, though. Welcome to YouTube. Unless it's a drama video or you just bash in something, which me and Imran apparently do occasionally, then you get lots of comments and lots of likes. Would you agree?
Yeah. No, I would. Yeah. I worry more. I prefer it when I get views. The number of likes and comments we like as well, but to be honest, it's always hit and miss. And like Paul said, unless you do something very disruptive, it doesn't bother me if we don't get many comments. That being said, I do like it if I get comments, so please keep commenting. And don't forget to click like.
Exactly. Click like. Okay, we got one question here, which I'm going to put to Imran first, and I'm going to give my feedback on it. And then I think we'll call it a day. So from Christian, you mentioned Breakdance many times. What do you think about it? So Imran, I'm going to pass this over to you. Now, bear in mind, what do you think of the product? Forget everything else that goes around it. Breakdance itself, what are your thoughts on it? Let's keep it that way and let's take a different approach.
No, absolutely. And I think I've said this a few times in other places as well, that I feel excited about using it if there were some changes, which I'm not going to go into. However, I think it is intuitive. I think it's really intuitive. I think it's clean. It looks good. It looks like a product that I could easily get on board with. It has got some great features with WooCommerce. You cannot deny that. It allows you to do a lot more funkier stuff than what you get with Elementor. It's almost like Elementor's had a baby, right? And it sounds really bad, that, doesn't it? It's had a baby, you know. It's almost like Elementor's been dancing, right? They've been dancing for years and they owned a dance floor, and then suddenly this broke the dance. That's why it's called breakdance. The baby's come out, and I think it's just an evolution of Elementor. I think that it's not even got the final version. There's been tons of betas, but for it to be, well, for what it gives you without even being the final version yet is very, very exciting. And it definitely feels like they've looked at Elementor and said, right, what is all the noise and what can we give you? And, you know, I mean, it's already got a mega menu. I know I go on about mega menus a lot, but I have only used mega menu twice in my entire life on any websites we've built. So I don't even know why I talk about it, but it's got it in there, right? It's got loads of stuff, and when I build a website with Elementor, there's certain CSS bit codes I've got to put in to fix the fact that some things don't work properly in Elementor or don't work the way you want them to work. With Breakdance, you can just get on board with it. I think it's a good product. I think it's got legs like a millipede. And I think that with more tutorials with a bigger customer base. I think it has got a lot of potential. But that's all I'm going to say about that.
This is called the party political version. So
yeah,
I think I would probably have to agree with a lot of those kind of comments. I think what you have with Breakdance, the same way that you had with bricks, they've got the benefit of foresight and the benefit of seeing what other builders have done, what other builders are doing well, what they're not doing well, what people want in those builders. So when you have that, you do have the ability to create something that appeals to the masses. You know, I think that's the kind of thing that's going on here. I think that's why bricks hit the ground running, is because they were looking at tools like Elementor, Divi, and other tools that were out there. They said, this is missing, that's missing, and these are things people are crying out for. And we will put out a product, and we'll also put out a roadmap that says, if it's not here now, it will be in the next few months, 12 months, whatever the case is. And I think that was a very smart thing. And I think what Breakdance has done is it's taken a leaf out of Brix's way of working. And they've kind of taken that and they've looked at maybe what Brix users are asking for that's not there yet. And they've taken the several years of development before they even came up with the alpha product, and since they've been alpha and beta, or beta, to create and fill out those gaps. You know, the loop builder, the filters, conditional logic, those kinds of things that are missing in Elementor. And we always go back to Elementor because it is, and whether you like it or not, it's the #1 page builder. It's used by more people than probably all the other ones combined. Yeah, but absolutely. I think what we have with these other builders is a smaller user base, which allows them to be much more agile. And I think Breakdance is benefiting from that right now in the same way that Bricks has benefited from it for the last 14, 15 months, which I only think is a good thing. I really do. So I think that's probably where that is where we are when it comes to Breakdance. I don't think either of us dislike it. I think both of us can see the merits of it, and we can see the direction it's going in, and there's a lot of things to be excited about with it. That's part of the reason why I put a video out saying I don't want to like it, but I do. And I think that's the kind of simple thing. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly wrap things up at this point now. I'm going to hand it over to Imran again because we've got a few more people in now than we did when we started. So you can round things off saying how they can find out a bit more information about yourself, those kinds of things. So I'm going to hand that over to you quickly and then we will wrap things up. So Imran, over to you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Imran, Web Squadron. Look, if you want to find me, all you got to do is unsubscribe from WPTuts, jump over onto YouTube, look for Web Squadron. You'll find me. You got our email on our website on there. We got a Facebook group as well. We tend to do daily live chats Monday to Friday at midday BST, which is British summertime. Please pop along on there. We don't just talk about Elementor and WordPress. We do talk about bricks, breakdance, lots of other things. Your business, your marketing, Star Wars, you know, pizzas, burgers. To be honest, sometimes we talk 1% Elementor and 99% everything else. But any questions, any advice, you know, in fact, if you want us to do a video on something, please let us know and I'll just add you into my massive list that's getting really big as it is anyway. But yeah, I'm Imran, Web Squadron. I'm on YouTube and other places.
Don't go there. Just don't go there. Okay, well, once again, thanks very much for joining me at the last minute, which is basically what we tend to sort of do a lot these days. It's like, we're at a loose end. Imran, you do anything tonight? No. Jump on a live stream? Yeah, go on.
I was actually riding on my bike. I was like that, sweating away on my bike, and then I go, yeah, fine, okay.
Well, thank you once again for joining in, and I'm sure this won't be the last one in the next couple of days. So, if everybody would like to take care, thank you very much for joining the both of us tonight, for getting involved in the chat, for giving us your comments, your questions, your feedback, the different suggestions you've got. They've all been invaluable. I've made notes of different things that I want to take a look at myself. Take care, look after yourself, and I'm sure we will see you all very, very soon. Look after yourself. Take care now.
Cheers, bye.